Now, let's take a look at what else is in the economic calendar for the week. On Tuesday, we'll get the October reading for U.S. inflation, with expectations that consumer prices moved a little bit higher last month. The following day, there will be economic growth figures out for the third quarter from Japan. Those numbers are expected to show the weak yen is helping to boost exports. Also on Wednesday, we get an economic health check from China, which has seen a sluggish post-pandemic recovery. We'll get numbers on retail sales, industrial production, and unemployment. And on Thursday, we will also be taking a look for indications of the effect of rising interest rates on the Australian economy when employment data for October is released. We're joined now by Peter McGuire. He is the Chief Executive of TradingPoint.com from Sydney, with more on what's expected the week ahead. Thank you very much for joining us again on the show, Peter. Talk to us a little bit about what investors are expecting to come out of this APEC meeting in San Francisco.
Well, I think a couple of good points that need to be discussed, and naturally geopolitical tensions, global economy, the slowing as far as Chinese export market, and the overall health of what's going on across not only Asia, Europe, and of course into the US. So as they sit down, I think it should be reasonably positive, and that's the way that's got to be interpreted as far as both leaders coming together. It's been about a year since they have.
Recent data in China is not really been heading in the direction that President Xi Jinping is hoping for. So what can we expect to see later this week?
Well, this is the issue facing as far as the global economy, those weak export numbers last week, and then you're looking at how that all rolls this week as far as data points and those release of numbers. You've got the retail sales, you've got fixed asset investment and industrial production. So as we take on board those numbers, what are they going to represent as far as the internal combustion of China and naturally trying to export their way out?
Now, I want to turn to Japan because we're also going to be seeing some growth figures coming out of that. And with the Bank of Japan still reluctant to exit that easy policy despite sustained inflation and a weak yen above 150, what exactly do you expect that we will see later on this week?
A little bit of a shrink as far as those GDP numbers. You've had 3 quarters of really extraordinary growth over the first, and then this one I think will actually be a pullback. So there's the first part. As you mentioned, ultra loose policy from the BOJ. And is the Bank of Japan governor prepared to do something in the early 24? And you've got that yen, now 151 approaching 152 levels, which is, from an export side, it's probably good, but from an import, it may be hurting them tremendously.
And very briefly, before we go, we are also going to get some labor statistics coming out of Australia. What do you expect to see?
Well, if they surprise to the upside as far as a weak growth, then I think that could be a positive tone. If they're stronger than expected, then I feel as though that there's probably a 50-50 toss of the coin as far as another December rate hike. We've just had one last week, and that would underpin and strengthen the Aussie dollar.
Peter McGuire, thank you very much for joining us on the program once again.